Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Rohini from the Department of Anatomy, SCMCH and RI, Chenpatna. Today we are going to talk about the spleen. So this is one of the lymphoid tissues. So we are going to talk about spleen, the histology of spleen actually. So spleen has got a very bright capsule. Capsule covers the spleen. It is made up of dense connective tissue, and you can also see some trabeculae extending from the capsule. So these are the trabeculae that you can see. It is extending from the capsule. Let me just zoom out a bit. So you can see this capsule, and you can also see some trabeculae. So let me show you the entire picture. So this is how it looks. So these trabeculae arise from the capsule and they enter into the parenchyma of the spleen. So this is the parenchyma. Whatever you see here below is the parenchyma. Alright. So now here you can see that trabeculae, they divide repeatedly. Many of them, they divide repeatedly. And you can also see some reticular cells and reticular fibers that form the meshwork in the spleen. So now here you can see, like I mentioned, the capsule contains many myofibroblasts, and that is part of the capsule. And what is the function of the myofibroblasts? They actually help in discharge of the blood that is stored in the spleen. So that is what is present in the capsule. So myofibroblasts are the content of the capsule. So this capsule is actually very bright, and it is one of the important identification feature of the spleen. Okay, next coming to two things. You can notice two things. One is called the white pulp. The other one is called the red pulp. So in any fresh tissue, if you see, fresh section, if you see, parenchyma of the spleen has got two regions. One is white pulp and the red pulp. So white pulp consists of lymphoid tissue, and you can see red pulp, which is made up of, it is lightly stained, and it has got more eosinophilic regions, and it has got more of cords of Billroth and splenic sinusoids. So that is the difference. So what is white pulp made up of actually? White pulp is made up of all these things which are called the lymphoid nodule. So that is the white pulp. So this is white pulp, and come downwards here, you can see some red pulp, which is made up of, like I said, cords of Billroth. What is cords of Billroth? That is made up of RBCs, lymphocytes and macrophages and some plasma cells. And there are also some splenic sinusoids, which are nothing but elongated endothelial cells, and they are filled with RBCs. So that is the red pulp. So the difference between white pulp and red pulp you understood. Now let's concentrate only on the white pulp. One single white pulp, let's see. That is nothing but the lymphatic nodule. So you can see that there is an arteriole. Can you see that is called central artery? Okay, so this is the central artery. Even though it is eccentric, we call it as central artery. Why we call it central artery? So it is called central artery because, so in cross sections you can see this central artery, and here you can also see some, what I have noticed is you can also see some sheets of lymphoid tissue surrounding the central arterioles. So that is called the PALS. Okay, central arteriole, you can see some sheath like thing that is surrounding it. It is called PALS, or periarterial lymphatic sheath, PALS. You remember PALST, you remember. Okay, what is it containing is, it is containing T cells. So it forms one of the thymus dependent zone of the spleen, and splenic nodule or the Malpighian corpuscles are present, and that is rest of the space. Okay, all these are rest of the space, and that is again white pulp, and it has got a germinal center here. So germinal center is there, and at some places these B cells proliferate in pulse on exposure to antigen, and they develop these germinal centers. So these germinal centers, when they are developed, they push this central arteriole to the corner, and that's why we call this eccentric arteriole. So they no more are central, but they are pushed to the corner. So again, this is only because of the proliferation of the T cell. So you remember PALS T. Okay, so this PALS is nothing but the sheath that is surrounding the central artery. So now coming to, so you can be asked about eccentric arteriole, why it is called eccentric, why it is not called central artery. So that could be one question. So next you can look at marginal zone also. So here you can also see some lighter zone that is called the marginal zone, that is lying between the white and the red pulp, and it contains numerous antigen presenting cells, you can see. So those antigen presenting cells are there, and you can also see some macrophages also. So those are the part of that marginal zone that is surrounding this lymphatic nodule. So other than that, I told you about the red pulp, which is little lower down, which is mainly made up of cords of Billroth and splenic sinusoids. Like I mentioned, cords of Billroth. Billroth is actually a surgeon's name, that is Austrian surgeon's name. So they are also called splenic cords. They are irregular anastomosing cords. And you can also see some sinusoids that are present between those Billroth, and they're separating them actually. And they are having wide lumen, and they're elongated, and they are lined by endothelial cells. So they are present in a longitudinal direction. So to summarize everything, you can see the capsule, you can see the central artery. This is the lymphatic nodule, which you call it as the white pulp. You can also see some trabeculae extending from the capsule. All this is parenchyma. Okay, you can also see some central artery. In some of the sections you may see, in some you may not see. Okay, so in some of them it may be pushed to the corner, and that is called eccentric artery. In some it may not be. If the germinal center is wide, it may be pushed. Otherwise, it may be present right in the center. You go little downwards, that forms the red pulp. But right now what you can see is the white pulp. So this is white pulp. This is white pulp. So all the rest of the things you can call it as connective tissue. So this is about the spleen. So here there are some labeling. So you can also see splenic cords in the red pulp. So these are all red pulp. Wherever you see the lymphatic nodule, that forms the white pulp. So you have white pulp, red pulp, which is made up of splenic cords and sinusoids. So you could be asked, what is the other name of cords of Billroth? They are also called splenic cords. So this is about the histology of spleen.